How we doing?
Good.
How are you? Okay. So, anyone like to read this for me? Anyone? I won't throw this mic at you. Go for it. Betsy.
Now listen, you who say today or tomorrow we will go to this or that city or that state. Spend a year there, carry on business and make money. Why do you not even know that what will happen tomorrow? What is your life? You are in a mist that appears for a little while and then vanishes. 15. Oh, never mind. I knew that. Instead, you ought to say, if it is the Lord's will, we will live and do this or that. As it is, you boast on your arrogant schemes. All such boasting is evil. If anyone then knows that good, be good, they ought to, and doesn't do it, it is sin for them?
Yeah.
Good job, Betsy.
Okay, so this is important because James is revealing two key concepts to us. The first being that we are not masters of our own destiny, that our time is in God's hands. And this is important because how can we be certain of when speaking about today or tomorrow? For we don't know what sudden events may occur. And we don't know what's around the corner, what's in store for tomorrow, or even for the rest of the day. Our time is in God's hands, and He has the best intentions for us. More than anything, He wants us to prosper. And He has laid out a foundation and has bestowed upon us a path to follow. And the second thing that he talks about is time. This is important because we sometimes think that we have all the time in the world. I used to be really good with getting my homework in on time, and I really didn't used to procrastinate. But as time has gone on, that statement is becoming less and less true, and I've started to procrastinate more. It's just kind of natural.
We all
Yeah. Hear you all on that one. But the truth is, we don't have all the time in the world, and it's important for us to know that we have God that has laid out this path for us. And it's hard because, we try to do all these things to safeguard our future, to make sure that all the stars align perfectly to get that ultimate, most satisfying outcome for ourselves. And especially nowadays, we want quick answers, immediate solutions, and everything's just kind of go, go, go. Our schedules are from point A to point B, and everything can sometimes tend to be a blur. But it's important that if we just quiet everything that's going on around us and within us, we can realize that when we feel like giving up or walking away or throwing in the towel, that's when God is trying His hardest. When we feel like bailing out, that's when He's going to come in and outstretch His hand to us and bring us in. And this is important because, through the thick and the thin, no matter what you're going through, He's going to be there. And I just can't, it's amazing to me. I know my family loves me, but sometimes they can have their fill of me. And so just imagine someone who is always there, that you can never talk too much for him, never be too loud around him, that he's always going to be alongside you. So when there's people out in this world that are turning their backs to you or pushing you away, that's when He's trying to bring you in, because He is going to always be right there alongside you. He's in for the long haul. Verse 14 said, "Why, you do not even know what will happen tomorrow. What is your life? You are a mist that appears for a little while and then vanishes." And I found this interesting because I was trying to think, wow, what is your life? That's kind of a pretty deep question. I'm pretty sure, we don't go home and let's see, I got math homework, some Cornell notes, and what is my life? Maybe you do, but I usually do. So this is important because we have to know that God has a plan for us, and that when we're having a bad day or when things are down, that He's there to try to lift us up, and that it's important for you. I challenge you to think about this, or it might be hard to, when you heard that you're referred to as mist. I don't know how I feel about that being called mist, but it's in the Bible. It's there for a reason, not just left in there. And so it's good to challenge yourself with these questions because it can kind of reveal yourself to yourself and, more of your true feelings, like what your strengths are, your strong positive character traits, what you do to glorify God. But it's also important because it also reveals your flaws, your weaknesses, and the everyday sins that we commit. But it's important to know that, even when we stumble or we have those days of triumph, that it's all going to work out in the long run, and that there's more to it than that. We've been blessed with such a gift of life. I mean, life is amazing. It's fragile and delicate, but yes, we can persevere, we can be strong-willed, and it's important to know what actions you take and what words you say to show your devotion to God. And it's hard because, we're all, teenagers and stuff. We have busy lives, busy schedules, and sometimes we can get caught in this brainwashing mindset and this routine where we're not thankful for the things we have and the things that we have been blessed with in our life. And so, you may be out in movies with your friends, and I'm not saying don't do that, go for it, that's great. But, there's people out there who are, barely making it through a day. There's kids and families that are starving, and there's also people being sold as slaves. I know you're all probably thinking that escalated pretty quickly, and then, we all know that. But, yeah, sorry guys, I know that did. But it's not always the case, but sometimes, why do we have to hear things like this to realize how blessed we are, to be thankful? That either hearing or even sometimes witnessing and seeing these things has to be that trigger or that signal for us to look and, take a step back and realize just the little things or the big things every day, how blessed that we are. It's also important to know that, we may think that all the things that we do, the things we say, and the things that we really try hard to work on are going to, set everything in stone and make everything definite, and that it's all going to work out. But at the end of the day, we're not the ones that lay everything out. God has a plan. For verse 15, we are utterly dependent on God. It is the Lord's will. We will live and do this or that. It is important for us to know that we are profoundly to have this attitude in our hearts and in our minds too as well, and also to reflect in our speech how humbly dependent we are on God, instead of showing the world how sometimes we can be boastful, or we can be self-centered, or also sometimes lacking humility. For verse 16, that when we plan without factoring God and his ultimate truths and reality into our lives, we are being arrogant. And sometimes when we're arrogant, we can be boastful, and we all know that boasting is a sin. Now, it's hard, we all do it, we all sin, and there's nothing we can do. But it's important to know that, at the end of the day, we still can get through this, that it is really a chain of events. If you just take a step back, and even though people are pressuring you and expecting all these things, that it can be stopped. And one of my friends came up to me the other day, and he said, I'm going to try something new. Usually he's kind of a boastful person, but we all do things like this. And he said, I'm going to really try to, change my mindset. I'm going to, instead of judging people in the hallway, I'm going to try to think of one nice thing about them or a couple good things. And I was like, okay, that's awesome. I'm really proud of you. It's not easy to do. It can be really hard. And so I was like, I'll talk to you at the end of the day and see how that went. And he came back to me, and he's like, you wouldn't believe how much of a difference it made. And it can really give you a new perspective and alter your mind, and you really will be surprised on how much it can help. For verse 17, it says here that the last words of the Archbishop Usher before he was brought to the stake were, Lord, forgive my sins, especially my sins of omission. And I found this interesting because when we think of sin, we usually think of things we do that contradict the law, go against God's word, something that, we see someone do or we do ourselves and everyone immediately knows. So whether that's stealing or swearing or thinking some not nice thoughts about other people. And we just categorize it right then and there under something like that. But we fool ourselves when we just think that's, it's the only way, that there is sins of omission when God calls us to do something and we don't do it. And sometimes this can be hard because we all have ups and downs in our relationship with God. Not everything's perfect and not everything's easy sailing. But sometimes you may feel like, that your faith walk is stagnant or that you're free falling. And so it's hard for us to hear God's word, or we're afraid to be judged by other people or to get a reputation, afraid to go out on a limb and do what God has called us to do. So I know I'm really guilty of this. We create loopholes for ourselves, and we think about all these ways that we can get around it. We're like, oh, it's okay if I don't do this. I did this yesterday, or I'm going to do this tomorrow, or, people really won't notice. It's not a big deal. And by the time that we think about all this stuff, it takes more time. We probably could have finished what we were supposed to do by the end. Another also reason why is if some people are very, visual learners and such, and everything has to be laid out, and they have to see everything, where they're going and such. And when we can't see that, when we don't know what tomorrow will bring, when we don't know what's around the corner, it's hard because we sometimes don't feel like God's talking to us. We're confused. We don't know what to do. And so, sometimes we're just like, God, just tell me what to do. I need direction. And he will tell you, but sometimes not at that moment. Sometimes things take time. And so it's harder because we have to realize that, sometimes the reason why God doesn't show us things right then and there is because if he did show us, maybe we wouldn't follow through with them. Maybe we would give up then and say, you know what, that's not meant for me. I'm just going to jump ship here. But it's important to follow through with this and to think about this too. Another term that might help is, it can be called passive sin as well. And active sin is like sin, like you said, swearing or doing immediate things, but passive sin is like sins of omission. And it's important that, even though you may get judged by people, that people might call you names and such, that it really, doing God's word the way you've been called to do, can not only open up a new perspective for you, but also open up opportunities for other people. Like these guys said last week, that you might be the only living Bible that people see. That, you might be that beacon of light in this darkening world. That people are going to, even just a smile in the hallway or just hearing some kind words, that people will need this. And it also ties into, there's a saying that I really like. I got it in a fortune cookie once. It probably would be better if it came from the Bible, but got those two. It's okay. It says that a ship in a harbor is safe, but ships aren't built to be safe. Now, I'm not saying go out and do reckless things. That's not what it means. It's saying that we weren't meant to stand on the sidelines. We weren't meant to see all this suffering and this pain and not do anything about it. We're meant to go out, what God has called us to do, to be ourselves, and to bring glory to him. So don't boast about tomorrow. Sometimes, doing something like John said, it's easy, it's fun, but don't boast about tomorrow. What we have right now, give everything that you have into today. And make sure you cherish each and every day. And live out the person that you were meant to be, who God has called you to be. And with that,